Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Sagar Joshi and very warm greetings from Law Prep Tutorial. I know, so first of all, before I do anything, apologies from my side regarding the time of the video. Now, I had told you that there is a lag time, and additionally, because of certain of my family members also being down with sickness, so that is also one of the reasons why they are a little on over the line regarding the timing of uploading the video. So apologies for that, but don't worry, I know that the series is important, especially because now you need your doubts regarding current affairs to be resolved, and thus trust me, I'll never skip a day for all of you, right? I'm there for all of you. The purpose of series is to assist you, and this is the most important time now. So don't worry, we're not going to desert you at any point of time, but apologies from our side for being a little low. On that note, so as promised, I will be discussing an in-depth analysis of the Supreme Court judgment regarding the Maratha reservation, which the court has held unconstitutional. But apart from this, the court has also discussed something else that is equally important, which is the 102nd Amendment, and I am going to do an in-depth analysis of that, so stay tuned for that till the end of the video, okay? But the two other news, I'll be discussing them here and now only. But before I do that, doubts. So one doubt students had: can a candidate contest from multiple seats in state assemblies just like they can do in parliament? You can, one person can file nomination papers from all the assembly seats. The constitution only tells you that you can be a member of the house from only one constituency. So even if you want to contest from all the constituencies, you're welcome to do that, but you can be a member of only one. So even if you get elected from all of them, you have to resign and you can enter the house only from one seat. Alright, so that is the constitutional limitation. Now the second doubt was, what are oral observations of the court? The oral observations are known as Obiter Dicta in Latin, and the judgment which makes the law forming part of the judgment is known as ratio decidendi. Alright, so Obiter Dictas are oral observations of the court. So let's say a judge is asking a question, or let's say the judgment makes a remark. So for example, the Telangana High Court yesterday called upon why has there not been increase in testing. Similarly, the other High Court of India has also asked for removal of GST from oxygen concentrators. So they are not, the court hasn't passed an order that cancel GST on these products. No, they have stated it would be advisable for you to do that. So that's an oral observation. The remarks of the court that do not make a law are known as obiter dictas or oral observation of the court. Then another doubt that students also had: doesn't the central government have any right to stop military coup in Myanmar? First of all, that would be interference with the sovereignty of affairs in Myanmar. The only time other countries can interfere in the affairs of another country is under humanitarian grounds. When there is a ground that this country is actually violating international humanitarian law. So until the countries of the world decide that no, there is a violation of humanitarian law happening in Myanmar, such an intervention by other countries will not take place. Alright. On that note, so another general doubt for aspirants of CLAT 2022. So they've been asking, should they be watching the series? Should they be reading current affairs? My answer to you is yes. Why? See, the exam says current affairs and doesn't say ki is month se is month ki current affairs comes, right? So you have to focus on enhancing your knowledge. Secondly, you have to make yourself consistent with the preparation, and third, you have to increase your knowledge pool. So for those who are now starting on watching or reading the newspaper or have been consistent with reading, so you may ask also with other students or other viewers who have been watching the series. I am sure their reading speed has increased manifold from how, if there is a viewer who started watching the series from day one or from November, December onwards, and now, trust me, their reading speed is more, they know more, they can now eliminate what to read in the newspaper and what to not. I'm sure, and I ask the viewers who are preparing for CLAT this year to put it in the comment section that how much of your reading speed has increased, how much of your vocabulary in general has increased, how many things you can just naturally grasp and you don't need to rely on any other source because you have been following the newspaper analysis or just reading the newspaper consistently for the past 6 months. So that would answer the question of all the viewers who are preparing for CLAT 2022. On that note, I'll begin with newspaper analysis. So the first big news for us is the Maratha quota has been held unconstitutional. Now, what is this news about? This is about the Maharashtra government providing for reservation and in public employment and educational institutions to the members of the Maratha community in the state of Maharashtra. On what ground? That the community has been backward. Now, the Supreme Court overturning the decision of the High Court in a verdict of 3:2, that is a constitution bench of 5 judges, the majority judgment has held that this quota is unconstitutional on 2 grounds. First, that the Maharashtra government failed to establish any ground of backwardness for the Maratha community, that there is no evidence that this is there. Secondly, they failed to provide that there exist exceptional circumstances under which the 50% ceiling should be breached. Now, what is this 50% ceiling? In 1992, the Supreme Court gave a landmark verdict in the case of Indira Sahani versus Union of India. In that case, the Supreme Court held that reservation in public employments and admissions should be capped at 50%, because otherwise, as the words of the court in the judgment is that it is a slippery slope beyond that. If you move beyond that, then it is a slippery slope. It makes the government not as a welfare state but as a casteist state. It makes the state, as the court yesterday in its judgment also enshrined, that see, there are other mechanisms to equality. Reservation or affirmative action is a measure of equity, but by per se is a violation of equality, and by giving preferential treatment to one community over others without disclosing the rationale for which that is so or why you are providing so, then it is violation of Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. So the first question of the Supreme Court was whether the Maratha quota is unconstitutional by violating Article 14 of the Constitution. Alright, so the article involved is Article 14. The court has held it is unconstitutional. 2 grounds. First, no basis of why the community is backward, no evidence for that. And secondly, the court, there was no exceptional circumstances to breach the 50% ceiling. Where does the 50% ceiling come from? The case of Indira Sahani versus Union of India. Alright, now whenever you want to do or take an action that is per se a violation of right to equality, you need 2 standards. The first is you have to give a rationale behind why you are doing so, why you are violating the right of others. So if there is reservation for one community, there has to be reasons why they are being given that preferential treatment over others. Alright, so this standard is one that needs to be upheld in every case of violation of Article 14, that there has to be first reasonable classification made. So because the first question, that why no evidence was provided, that makes that there was no grounds to do it, no evidence, no rationale to do it. And secondly, even when you take such a step, let's say you claim that this is for equity of the community. How is that so? You have to justify that. So both those things are absent. First, the evidence, and second, the rationale to do it. On those bases, this has been now declared unconstitutional. The second part of the judgment is something we'll discuss in in-depth analysis at the later part of the video, so stay tuned for that. Now, all these points are how questions are asked in the examination. So what are the grounds under which Article 14 can be breached, or steps can be taken for curbing Article 14 in limited scenarios? So therefore, the two grounds that I told you have to be justified at all possible times. Alright. Then moving on, apart from this, the government advisor, who is Vijay Raghavan, the principal scientific advisor to Government of India, has now claimed that, see, the viral load in India is too high, and it is inevitable that we will also have a third wave. We will have a third wave unless we receive or reach universal vaccination. Then moving on, Supreme Court has also stayed the order passed by the Delhi High Court regarding contempt. What is this petition? This was related to the scenario where the central government had failed to comply with the order to meet with the requisite demand of oxygen for the Union Territory of Delhi. That was not being fulfilled, and so the court had initiated contempt proceedings. The Supreme Court had stayed it, but then has now asked for a specific plan as to how this will be fulfilled, because people are still dying and gasping for oxygen in the country. But on the positive side, some offshoots in this is that the pressure of the amount of death in certain areas of the country has reduced, especially Delhi, that it has now reported less deaths than it was reporting a week ago. However, the number of deaths in the country overall are still rising. So there is still no end in sight of the second wave of coronavirus. Then moving on the main editorial section. So the main editorial is about New Dawn and Dravidian politics. It is reasonable to expect. So this is about politics in Tamil Nadu, not relevant for us at all. What it brings, these are all political advice. This, on the left hand side, the editorial becomes more important. What is this about? That, see, against excess. In Maratha case, the Supreme Court hold fast to quota ceiling and requires special reasons to exceed it. This is a shot in the arm for all the state governments who have been trying to give in or cave into the demands of specific community for reservation. So the court has said that rather than focusing on reservation for each community, focus on equality for all, and focus on creating infrastructure that is better for all, because if there is one community that you give it, others will also ask for it, which is what the court statement is, that this is a slippery slope. And it has now said that, see, the 50% standard is important. The 50% ceiling is the threshold which can only be breached in exceptional circumstances. The second part of it is about the 102nd Amendment, which I will discuss at the later part. Then moving on, the sudden death, which is about IPL's suspension now. So that is that, see, it was always going to happen in the way it was organized. It now needs to be seen what will be the future of the tournament for this year. Then the second editorial here, a CT scan for COVID merits a word of caution. This is because you must have heard, a lot of places have been, or doctors have been prescribing CT scans of the body or of the chest per se for diagnosis of COVID-19. In light of new variants, the RT-PCR test has been failing in terms of providing data regarding COVID-19, and thus it is being asked that, see, we should actually get other mechanisms for which CT scan has come across as the most favorable one. This editorial talks about that, why this may not be the best prescription for two reasons. First, the CT scan is not an accurate determinant because it is only 50 to 60% effective in determining whether a patient has COVID or not. The second thing is approximately 1.5 to 2% of cancer patients may be because of high radiation due to or because of undergoing CT scan. So there is a proven chance of you getting cancer because of CT scans. So thus, why expose yourself to such a risk when this is proven? So it is still better that you focus on the normal known symptoms and take care of yourselves and rely on RT-PCR test only as per the editorial. Then moving on, the post-poll survey analysis, not relevant for us. Why people voted for what party, not at all relevant. Then here is the news that workers' incomes fell by 17% in the past year. Who has published this report? This has been published by the Azim Premji University Center for Sustainable Employment at Bangalore. This is state of working of India 1 year of COVID-19. That's the people incomes fell in the country and therefore people reduced their food intake, sold assets, had to borrow money, which shows how our economy is in dire strait. Then a response from our External Affairs Minister to Chinese government's reply. Yesterday we talked about 5G trials being approved in India and how Chinese companies had been left out of it. So in that regard, now our External Affairs Minister has stated that, see, we can't have bloodshed on border and good relationships on other domains. There will be consequences of what you had done at the LAC. The tensions between India and China date back to last year's incident in Ganwan Valley and what is happening at LAC. That incident is now less in the news, but still the face-off between Indian forces and the Chinese at LAC, except for Pangong Tso Lake, is still ongoing. No progress has been made in de-escalation of the situation there, and thus our External Affairs Minister highlighted that, see, it cannot be back to status quo until and unless things are restored at the border. Then moving on, center alone can identify SEPC is the article that I will be doing an in-depth analysis of. On the right hand side, committed to free media says Election Commission. So after the Supreme Court has now given a verdict that, see, media freedom is something essential and cannot be curbed, Election Commission is now that, see, we are committed to free media. Media is an ally of us. The same body a couple of days ago had gone to the Supreme Court to say that, see, they are reporting about us. These are uncalled for. Media should not report what is criticism of the court or any of that. So this shows that how once the Supreme Court takes a stand, everyone has to fall in line. Then moving on, so the Delhi High Court has urged central government to drop GST on import of oxygen concentrators, something that the government needs to do. Then another thing is INSA-CoG. What is INSA-CoG? Indians SARS-CoV Genome Sequencing Consortia of Scientists. What does they do? They are the 10 labs of India where genome sequencing of the COVID-19 virus is done. And this shows that, see, in most of the places, the second wave of COVID-19 is, and primarily in major states, is because of the new variants of the coronavirus. The B117 is the UK variant, while the B1617 is Indian variant of the coronavirus, which is also the double mutant variant. And how, based on the samples that were genome sequenced, 99 to 100% were found to be of the UK variant and above 75% on the Indian variant. So the number and the name of the variant is something important for you all to know. Then India reported the highest per day death toll, which is condolences to all those who have lost their souls because of COVID-19. But stay strong, work on your immunity, take care of each other and help out those who need help in these trying times. That is only the way we can collectively come back from the coronavirus wave. Then moving on, so yesterday we had talked about how Kangana Ranaut's account on Twitter has been suspended, and now a news from Facebook about its board approving the ban on Donald Trump. So after the violence in January 6, we had read that, see, his account was permanently suspended by Facebook and that has been now upheld. However, The oversight board, which is a pseudo independent body of Facebook to determine whether the actions that have been taken to suspend accounts are correct or not, has claimed that, see, you cannot indefinitely suspend someone's account. You need to have specific reasons for it. Those reasons are something that now Facebook has to justify why Donald Trump's account should be permanently suspended. Alright. Then moving on, US has confirmed it will be sending vaccines to 10% of all its vaccines to different countries by July 4. Apart from this, regarding the TRIPS waiver, his stand is still not confirmed. It needs to be seen how he takes it up. This will make it easier for manufacturers across the globe to actually manufacture the COVID-19 vaccines at a high pace. Then on the right hand side, Canada has become the second country to now start vaccination for adolescents, that is children above the age of 12. Then moving on the economic section, there is one news. So when we had done the budget analysis, we had talked about how the government had announced disinvestment in public sector banks. IDBI Bank has now been confirmed as the first bank that will be disinvested. Disinvestment means government holding in this bank will be done away with. LIC is the largest stakeholder in the IDBI Bank along with the central government. Collectively, they host 94% of the equity or the shareholding, with LIC holding 49.2%, and now the Union Cabinet has confirmed that this bank will be disinvested. So the first public sector bank to be disinvested in India will be the IDBI Bank as per the Union budget. So that is something that you need to note. Then, so I will now move on to the news. Okay. So this is also the format that I will be using for our revision series, where you will find the newspaper article on the left hand side. What does it relate to and what are the important information? So what is this about? Center alone can identify SEBC is what the Supreme Court has stated. What is it about? This is the second prong of the Constitution's bench judgment. This is related to the 102nd Amendment Act. What did the 102nd Amendment Act do? It created the National Commission for Backward Classes. This answers the question: a statutory body is something that is created by law of Parliament. A constitutional body is one that is created through amendment of the Constitution and is made within the Constitution. So NCBC became a constitutional body in 2018. In this regard, so what was the case? Maharashtra, which is a state government, had identified that, see, the Maratha community is backward and thus they should be given reservation. The Supreme Court's order now is that as per Article 338B Clause 6 and 342 Clause A, only the President via the central government and the Parliament's law can make or add any community as socially or educationally backward. So the state's power in this is now limited to only making it or suggesting to the president that, see, this community should be declared backward and evidence. But the sole discretion to do that only and only lies with the Parliament and the President of India. So now only the central government can do this, which we go back to the statement of Uddhav Thackeray, right, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, where he claims that, see, the Prime Minister should take action regarding this. So in this newspaper article, right, that the PM must ensure quota and the center alone. So state can only make suggestions to the President or the statutory commission. So the two articles that become important for you all is 338B Clause 6 and 342 Clause A. In this regard, additionally, you all also will be needing to know about the National Commission for Backward Classes. So this is the Constitution of India. This is Article 338B. Alright. inserted by the Constitution through 102nd Amendment Act 2018. This is when the amendment was made. So there is a commission now, which is a constitutional body. It is subject to provisions made by any law made in behalf by the Parliament. Alright. So the central government, which is the majority at the Parliament, can make laws, and it shall consist of a chairperson, vice chairperson, and 3 other members. And they all shall be appointed by the president by rule. Alright. Now, what has the court told? The court has stated that, see, the president shall cause all such reports. What are these reports? These reports are the one which are about recommendations that the states will make. So a state government, which is Maharashtra here, will now have to move a recommendation to the central government. Tell them that, see, we want this community to be identified as backward. This recommendation is something that shall be laid before each house along with the memorandum. The central government or the Parliament then needs to approve it. So this will be like a constitutional amendment at every point of time. Why will it be a constitutional amendment? Because as per Article 342 now, alright, 342A. So see, Parliament may by law include or exclude from the central list of socially and educationally backward classes. So central list, that means only the Parliament can make changes, and any change that the Parliament makes, for that to be confirmed is by the President. So this power of giving any community reservation at any level now in terms of backwardness or socially or educational backwardness is now lies solely with the Parliament and the President. So this power has now been given away. So you all need to know, one, about the 2 relevant articles, the authority who has now been given the sole power, and you need to know about the National Commission for Backward Classes. So those 2 things become important for you from this judgment, apart from what we had discussed about the grounds on which Article 14 can be changed, or a step for equity towards it can be taken. Alright. So in today's newspaper, the most important news is the judgment regarding this. The second one is disinvestment of the IDBI bank becoming the first one as per the budget. So those 2 news become most important in today's newspaper. Tomorrow's story will probably be about the stand the US government takes on the TRIPS equation, whether the waiver will be granted or not. So that is also something we'll see tomorrow. On that note, thank you so much. Please take care, all of you, and of your family members. Thank you, and I will see you all tomorrow.